folks. Welcome into a pregame edition of the Crowd Assist podcast. I'm your host today, Kevin Misery. I'm here with Meerkat and banged up Bills, Kyle Trimble. Dr. Trimble, how you doing today, Kyle? Appreciate you making time to come on here today.
Of course, I'm doing pretty good. Very good.
Thank
pretty
you.
good. Ready to talk
Thanks.
about the Buffalo Bills.
Thanks for coming on here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a pretty big game, and there's a lot of big noteworthy injuries here going on today, and that's why we had to have you. We had to make time to get you on and really talk about a few things. Now we're probably maybe an hour and a half from an inactives roughly, so there's a lot to really go over here, Kyle, but just let's look at it from the top. I want to start with the Kansas City Chiefs and Chris Jones, a player who didn't practice all week with a wrist injury. Tell us what you think is going on with that situation, and if he can actually play here tonight against the Bills.
First off, I think he's going to play. I know that there's a rule out there with Andy Reid that if you don't practice, you don't play. But Chris Jones is pretty special. The fact that he's a wrist, you can tape it up, you can splint it, you can do all sorts of things with it, and he can still get to the quarterback. So even if he's providing pressure, if he's still beating his man, he can get in there and create havoc. So this morning they said he was a true game time decision. They said that he should be good to go. But I think the Chiefs bend the rules for him because he could be such a difference maker, even on the edge. So I don't know exactly what it is. I've heard just more of a sore wrist, but there's definitely something going on there that he's been dealing with this for the past 2 weeks. And he was questionable and being a true game time decision. So I believe he's going to play. He's going to get his stats, but hopefully if he's slowed down a little bit because he can't engage his blocker as much or get around the edge, do what he needs to do, then hopefully the Bills can take advantage of that.
Is that a pain tolerance issue? What is that wrist? How are you not practice all week, but still able to play on it? Is that pain tolerance? Is that shouldn't limit him too much? How is that affect your actual performance?
It could be a pain thing. There could be some instability. There could be, I don't know exactly what's going on. The Chiefs have been pretty tight-lipped as the specifics of the injury. So whether it's he just doesn't have the strength in there to do it, or it's just as it goes on, the pain gets worse. I'm sure they can give him some injections, some pain management strategies to help get him through the game. It just comes down to how effective is he can he be with the wrist there. Just like any other body part, you can do normal things on it, but can you play at 100% with it? Eventually things fatigue out or it becomes too painful and just kind of have to move away from using that there. So if we knew more specifics, I could tell you more with it, but I haven't been able to find a whole lot.
Yeah, and we saw from Ian Rappaport call it a true game time decision there for him. So I guess knowing that, lastly here on Jones, calling it a true game time decision, meaning do you believe they haven't gone one way or the other on it? Is it something that could technically keep him out if something happens pregame, where he's warming up and he's yeah, no, too much pain? What would make that a true game time decision rather than a go or rule out?
What it comes down to just how he's feeling, how he's going through pregame warm-ups, and just really whether he thinks he can play effectively. These guys know their bodies. They know what they can and can't do. And if they feel that they can play and be effective, they're going to be out there. Just like any other player. Some of them are so, I don't want to put arrogant. Some of them are so confident in their abilities that they think even hurt that they can still be effective. And sometimes you need that external force to say, hey, this isn't looking good. You're not doing what you need to do in warmups. I don't think you can get out there and play. So sometimes they need the external force to say, hey, let's not play. But I think it's going to come down to just how it's feeling, if he's having pain during warmups and able to go through the drills.
And another guy in the Chiefs that's really been hard to find is Willie Gay, a guy coming off the injured reserve here yesterday. Didn't have to list him too much on the injury report until they took him off yesterday, and they listed him as questionable. Probably really their only athletic linebacker on the team, probably really their only athletic talent that's able to do anything, maybe to cover Dawson Knox. How effective can he be in his first game back? Presumably they wouldn't have taken him off of IR if he wasn't going to suit up here today and waive a player. But, obviously he had that tweet yesterday as well about his mental health. We wish and hope for good things there on that front. But at least on a football end, Kyle, what can you expect like anything you've been able to find on Willie Gay, or is he kind of more of a phantom too? And can you expect a linebacker, an athletic linebacker, to be able to play off that lower, foot injury?
From what I've found, it was a turf toe injury. He was on the injured reserve for the first few weeks of the season. We know how those can linger. Hopefully he had enough time to fully rehab it. I don't think that they activate him without knowing that it's as close to 100% as it can be. We know the mental health thing is a big thing. On Reddit earlier today and yesterday, there were some Chiefs fans that didn't think he was going to play because of the mental health thing more so than the toe. But it might come down to, hey, how is he doing mentally? They know the foot is, or the toe is ready because they activated him. It's just whether he's going to be good to go and feel that he can execute the game plan. There always is a chance that he can re-injure the area. We have seen that in the past with other turf toes. It just comes down to how much support he has in there, which I'm sure there is still some, and then what he can do, if he can go side to sideline, if he can get his blocks and get in there and does what he does best as a linebacker. So I don't know that it will cause him any problems right now, but this could affect him down the line. Let's say the playoffs when we meet him again.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if you kind of turn the focus to the Bills, everyone's here to hear your opinion of the Bills and maybe some of their injuries. Most notably, I think they have pretty good news on most fronts, but most notably, Matt Milano being also called a true game time decision, coming off of a limited practice, something I've seen you post about on your blog, where you mentioned that they've only happened once, right, with Robert Foster, where a guy off of this injury has played off of a limited practice. Is that right? What is your opinion on that? And kind of where are we now? What's he doing pregame, and what would lead him to be the number 2 player to be able to do so off of his injury?
It's going to come down to how he's feeling, whether he's having any pain, how he's been doing in the practice past few days. We saw him go limited on Friday, which was really surprising, but we don't know how limited he was. Did he participate in 1 rep to make him get that limited designation? Did he participate in everything but 1 rep? Because there's a gray area with that limited designation. Whether you get 1 rep or you get all but 1 rep, you can still be limited. So that might have been some smoke screen stuff there. We saw that with Taiwan Jones as well. The weather's going to be a big factor with that. I had tweeted out last week before the Texans game with all that rain that if there was rain present, we wouldn't see as many injuries occur because of the poor footing. But conversely, if you already have an injury present, that could be exacerbated by the injury because the poor footing, you could slip and slide, overstretch the area. You could have further problems that just make it worse than it already is. So when we're looking at a true game time decision, we're looking at how's the weather. From what I was seeing from John Scott Spectrum News, the wind's supposed to start right after kickoff, and we're also just going to see how he's feeling. If the Bills break from precedent, like you said, I've only found 1 instance in the past 2 years, and it was Robert Foster. I don't know. And in that game, he didn't do a ton against the Cowboys from what I looked at his stat line either. So I think that was more usage with Foster than Milano. However, you got to see whether just how he's feeling. I still don't think he's going to play just because I think the magnitude of what this injury is, his past history with it, and then, what it means later on down the line. But, they reserve the right to do what they want to do that best suits the interest of the football team, Matt Milano, and then just everything else in general. So I don't think he plays, but hey, I'm not the one making the decisions.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And the weather was a good point. That's something I was, kind of watching out for is with an injury like that. You got to be careful with the field conditions. But one guy I'm really curious about is Trey White being limited all week and then no injury designation heading into this game. I mean, is that anything to actually watch out for tonight? Or are they confident he's full go? It was more precautionary during the week. I mean, what are you hearing about that? What do you think, Kyle?
I believe he's full go. I mean, they didn't give him a designation. I went through the film and tried to find where he would have injured his shoulder. He got a nasty forearm shiver from Pharaoh Brown in the game last week, midway through the first quarter. He got dropped and he popped right back. Of course, the adrenaline's still going, and he probably didn't feel it till after the fact. He's had shoulder and neck injuries in the past that sometimes you really can't find a ton of information on. So it might just be a soreness and say, hey, you're a vet. Let's just, make sure that you're ready to go for Sunday. he doesn't need the reps as much. I mean, being all pro, you're going to have a semblance of what to do out there, and not saying you have to go through the reps of everything. He was seen catching a football with a red non-contact jersey on, suggesting that his arm could move, but they probably didn't want to suffer any further hits to the area. Worst case scenario, it's a minor AC joint sprain, but still, you don't want to introduce contact to the area, which could further, cause problems Sunday night. And if they don't have to inject these guys with anything, that's only going to allow them to listen to their body more rather than trying to numb everything up.
If you look at it from the rest of the injury report, anything to note on Taiwan Jones, on anyone else that's been on there, AJ Vanessa, obviously you had Rousseau on there a little bit. Like, what's anything you see present with the rest of this as we kind of come full circle on it?
Look at everything. Rousseau, he has right ankle taped up pretty good from one of the small snippets of video we saw. I thought maybe when I see toe, I think turf toe, but that's not always the case there. Even if he need support in there for anything, they taped up the ankle pretty good at the heel, because if you're pushing through the toe, that's your fulcrum point to push off and move forward. So if you have any type of support in there, you need it for the entire length of the foot. And so you need to make sure that heel stays in contact so that when the foot pushes off, you're pushing off with the entire foot and not just off the toes, which would only exacerbate the injury. So hence why you would see the ankle taped up, and like I said, it was on the right side. AJ Epinesa, I have no idea what's going on with him because he was limited in practice Thursday and Friday. They said he suffered the injury in practice on Thursday. We don't know what happened. I did see reports earlier today that he was planning on playing. They could change their mind, obviously, but without any further information, it's hard to say what's going on. Looking at the other stuff here, I'm just looking back through. I always like bringing up this point because I think it's important. I brought up in my article at Bagnet Bills. Last year when they had Week 6 matchup, they had Josh Allen, John Brown, John Feliciano, Dawson Knox, Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, Micah Hyde, and Zach Moss either out with injury or dealing with injury. And then in the AFC Championship game, you had Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Vernon Butler, and Tremaine Edmonds all dealing with injury then. So we weren't healthy during either matchup. Now, the Chiefs weren't healthy at all in either of those matchups, but they obviously took advantage of what the Bills didn't have when they stepped on the field there. So I'm hoping that the fact that, okay, Milano is the only one hurt that's of major significance, that we can, somehow overtake the game there. I mentioned Taiwan Jones earlier. I don't see him playing. This guy has been beat up so much, but he keeps on showing up year after year. I don't see how he goes, especially with his demands as a gunner. He has to be sprinting down the field. If that hamstring is 99%, I don't even know he plays. But they do have Jake Kumro for that. Give Jones a break. You need him later in the year. Looking at every other person, Teron Johnson, he's full go with the groin. You got to worry about that, but hopefully it was just a tweak and they didn't need him for Texans. And then Jordan Poyer, there's a lot of concern with him too this year because he had hurt the ankle in week 3, missed week 4, but he says he's feeling great. And I think he would have played last week. It was just, we don't need you, sit it out. You're an older guy. So I think it's for the most part, everybody else. And then hitting on the Chiefs real quick here too, Frank Clark, he's been dealing with hamstring injuries to both sides. He suffered one in mid-August in training camp, missed week 1, played week 2, and then suffered another one in practice, knock him out week 3 and 4. So that guy might not even be 100%, though he doesn't have a game day designation coming in. But if he's limited at all, just like Chris Jones, that can only benefit the Bills.
Do you see him on a snap count, in your opinion?
Not Clark. Jones might be, but we see defensive lines sometimes on snap rotations. I don't know how the Chiefs operate with their defensive line, but Sean McDermott comes from Andy Reid's coaching tree. I would imagine they have a rotation of the defensive line just because to keep them fresh and everything.
Yeah, certainly. Now, real briefly, we won't talk much about it, but we saw it go around the league here real quickly. We saw Saquon Barkley go out with a pretty gruesome, I don't know if you had a chance to see that inverted ankle injury he had. What's your opinion on that? And for fantasy owners out there, for Saquon Barkley, is that what's the best case scenario there? Or is he looking long-term?
It's hard to say right now. We saw that was a low inversion ankle sprain. Those happen often in basketball. They happen often in football. I don't want to say garden variety because we don't know the severity of it. He looked like he rolled it pretty good. They ruled him out pretty quickly. There is a thing called the Ottawa ankle rules, which they look to see whether you can place weight through the ankle, look for tender points. So there's definitely some criteria that they can do on-field testing, see whether they need to do x-rays later on. And then when they do x-rays, determine whether this is a problem. So even if it was a moderate to severe ankle sprain, you're not coming back on it. If it's mild, you can tape it up and play back on it. But considering the injury luck he's had last year, and then he's had the high ankle in the previous, and then I saw in broadcast how much it swelled up there. It's not like they can put tape on it and get the swelling out of there. He would have probably just been limited and say, hey, you're not going to do it good for us at this point. Just sit out and we'll take it the rest from here. But it's too early to say whether he's going to be out multi-week or if it's going to be just a simple, sit out the rest of the game.
Interesting. That's something to note there for anyone out there that's a Giants fan and or a Saquon Barkley fan, as it looked like he might get going again. Okay, Kyle, you're not just an injury guy, so I want to ask you, what is the keys for the Bills' victory here today? What do you think they need to do differently and they played almost 3 times in the last 12 months? What do they need to do to secure a victory? Are you a guy that says go out and pound for pound out, toss them? Are you somebody that says they need to establish a running game, keep the ball away from Mahomes, even with almost as talented as an offense? What is your opinion on all this, Kyle? We want to get to, kind of what you're thinking. You've mentioned some good points the last couple times they've played with, the multitude of players they've had either limited and or out. So what is your opinion on this when they're fairly healthy? What do you want to see happen here, and how do the Bills come away with this?
I want to see the defensive line hit the. All right, yeah, I want to see the defensive line absolutely just pressure him, get in his face, get your hands up, just do whatever you can to disrupt him. I mean, he goes off script all the time. That's what he's known for. That's what he's great at. But put pressure on him. That's the reason why we drafted 2 defensive ends in the first round. That's why we added so much firepower along the defensive line the past few years. Get in his face. Hit these offensive line has had a significant overturn. They got rid of Eric Fisher in the offseason because he had Achilles injury in the AFC Championship game. They moved Lucas Niang, I believe that is, up in there. He was a rookie last year, and I don't think he played because of COVID. They have a lot of turnover there. So while they can still keep him clean, find a way to get into his face. We saw that happen with the Buccaneers last year, though Mahomes had a turf toe injury at the time, which led to him scrambling all over the place. But get in his face. Our secondary is really good to cover everybody else, but Mahomes and Chiefs are going to get their points. Just whether we have to keep up with them score-wise, be aggressive, and just get in his face. I think if they keep it in his face, they can control this game.
Okay. Now, if you look at it from an offensive side of Josh Allen, are you a pro running guy, or do you want different, pass concepts? Do you believe that Brian Daboll should come out and do, 10 straight passes? Are you someone that thinks they really need to work the run? Like, where do you stand offensively?
It's a good question. I don't necessarily think that he has to run more or has to exclusively pass. I think it's going to come down to situationally where are we seeing things we can take advantage of. I'm not saying he has to go out there run for 150 yards. That's what he did in his rookie year. I think it just comes down to situationally where can they take advantage when the time is right. Is there an injury that happened that they can exploit? Is there something they're seeing that happens again and again? We're seeing the Chiefs defense not be as good this year as in past years. So if they could take advantage of that and just strike where it is, get the running backs out wide too, and then have Josh as an option in case he wants to play action it. There's a lot of things they can do. So I don't necessarily, I'm leaning one way or another, whether they should pass or run more, but just take what, they've done in the past, take what the defense has given and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And I think that could this be a charm, Kyle? We need to get your score prediction here before we lose you. We want to know what you're thinking. You've talked about the injuries a lot. You've talked about what Kyle's keys to the game are. We got to get your score prediction as we get from everybody on this show. What are you thinking as you're getting into pregame here? Right. You're going to go make some good dinner. You got to tell us you got to tell us what's going to happen.
Okay. So I went and on my blog, the most recent article, I still think the Chiefs are the better team. They're favored by 3 right now. Until the Bills show they can beat them, I have to go with the Chiefs. And I hate doing that as a Bills fan.
That's fine.
But I feel like it's going to be 27-21 Chiefs. But, I mean, you hope that the Bills win. I'd rather take a loss now, knowing that we could beat them in the playoffs. But what team didn't want to do that or wouldn't want that? So give me a win now for the Chiefs, but give me a Bills win later on. So 27-21 Chiefs.
As we see on the bottom there, Kyle, 27-21 Chiefs, probably a pretty good guess, though a lot of success if you're able to keep Mahomes to 30 points or less. Historically, if he gets over that 30 mark, you're in trouble.
It's not
Kyle
good.
has a little bit of hope that the Kansas City defense shows up today, one of the worst defenses in the league. I'm possibly thinking you're thinking that they're healthy enough today for the first time, right? Is that kind of your rationale?
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 27-21, the Chiefs, due to Kyle's score prediction. Kyle, give me any other final news or nuggets you have, whether it's around the league or whether it's something you're working on your blog, anything, our viewers could watch for.
I'm always working on stuff over at Banged Up Bills. You find me for the post-game injury recaps, the previews. You can find my work over at the Game Day. Been doing a lot of betting stuff. I know you guys are heavy betting, but if you're looking for betting injury news, I'm over at the Game Day NFL, and we do every sport now. It's incredible how much we've grown. So I'm doing work over there. I find myself over Buffalo Rumblings. I don't have anything specific saying, hey, I got this in the shoot to come out yet, but as the injuries pop up, sometimes that requires a full article over, whether it's Buffalo Rumblings or deep dives. Yep. But I'm over at Locked On Bills as well, so you can find me pretty much everywhere. So if you want anything Bills injury news wise or some betting stuff with regards to injuries around the league, you find me over at Kyle Trimble 88 too, and I keep on just trying to bring the people what they want and, give them some type of insight.
Kyle, we appreciate you coming on the show, waiting a few minutes for us. We had a few difficulties here on our end, but really appreciate all of your insight. I mean, all of our viewers here are absolutely thrilled to hear some of this stuff, and hopefully something happens where Matt Milano will be the second player really ever to play off of a limited practice of this injury. So we're really hoping that maybe that's the case. And even if we see him on a limited basis or on a snap count, I mean, maybe that's good enough for what we were thinking. And maybe they could do a mix and match with AJ Klein, Kyle. So, but we really appreciate you coming on the show. Enjoy your pregame, enjoy everything you got going on. And we're definitely going to have you back as one of the best injury analysts and just regular analysts of the show. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thank you, guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Meerkat, lots of good things to digest from that. As we're getting closer and closer and closer to kickoff, really just over 3 hours away. Had a great injury breakdown there from Kyle. Any initial thoughts you have off of that, or what are you thinking? What are you feeling about off of all that really good information?
I'm not feeling good about Matt Milano or Taiwan Jones right now. That's for sure. Two guys you definitely want to see going tonight. I mean, Taiwan Jones had that massive play last year on special teams against the Chiefs, recovering that fumble on their own goal line off the muff punt or whatever. He's a special teams ace. He makes this roster year in and year out because of his contributions there. And yeah, we run deep at special teams on this team. Brandon Peen makes sure of that, but he is the ace. There's a reason this guy is a captain on this team, as a running back who doesn't carry the ball. So Taiwan Jones being out definitely upsets me because this is going to be a close game. And could it come down to special teams and, windy, rainy, shitty weather at night? That's very well possible. So missing somebody like Taiwan Jones hurts you. And obviously Matt Milano has been playing in an all-pro all-pro pace this season so far. And it's just inevitable when he's get injured. You just hope it's not a bad injury, being the game time decision. I guess I'm almost hoping if he doesn't feel good, he doesn't force himself to play, because I don't want this to be something that lingers, but missing him there in that linebacking core is going to hurt.
Yeah, to me, it's how aggressive did the Bills play this situation, Meerkat? That's what it is to me. In theory, do you send him out against the Jets today? If it was probably, like, I'm probably thinking you do. When it's a game of a magnitude of a game and a half, and probably one of the bigger, or if not the biggest regular season games, yeah, Tampa's going to be a big game. Maybe Carolina later on in the year, even though they've struggled at times lately. I can't really think about, maybe I can't see one of those division games mattering. Maybe one of those late New England games if they start creeping up. They don't have it there either. This is the game. This is the game that you're fighting against the number 1 seed for tiebreakers. You've already lost one to Pittsburgh, even though they're 2-3. At some point, they could, turn things on. I don't expect it, but really, it's this game, Meerkat. So is it like, well, maybe I'd rather have him against the Chiefs today in getting that game and a half and really putting a dent into the number 1 seed and continuing to compete? Or is it like, well, we'd rather sit him out this week, see him against Tennessee and beyond. But to me, it's like one of those things to where I'd press him this week because I think it's that important. And if you sit him, I'd rather sit him against the Titans. I'm not going to lie. That team hasn't looked great. They can run the ball. I like that matchup a little bit better defensively than I do this week. What's your opinion on that? Do you press it, or are you one of those people that are like, well, it's week 5. I don't know how important this really is. What camp are you in? Are you in this is just regular season? Or are you like, nah, this is like really important?
Usually it's week 5, it's regular season, especially kind of early on in the season. Super important player that you want healthy throughout the season, so I'm not pressing it, but this is different. This is the Chiefs. This is Sunday Night Football. This is revenge, and even if he's 75%, I want Milano going. I mean, do I feel great saying that? No, because of his injury history, the type of injury it is, how easy it can be to re-injury it or make it worse. And the weather doesn't help. You're going to have slippery conditions. Milano's a guy who flies around the field. He throws his body around. I mean, that extra slipperiness, you hate this. I mean, that's how I hurt myself back in the day. It was just a slick field. You slip, things pop, things overextend. It scares me. But if he's feeling somewhat good to go, I want him in this defense contributing any way he can. And if he's, 75%, but he feels like he's going to be a hindrance and he's moving kind of slow and stuff out there, then hold him back. But I want to see him press it.
It's tough because you're really banking on, like, what are you giving up if you play him in limited snaps? And if he is a hindrance, obviously you just go to Klein. But what are you giving up by activating him, seeing what he has, and scratching Andre Smith? Like, I mean, like, at some point, I agree with you. The Taiwan Jones injury hurts. I think with his limited snaps, he could surprise us and be active because, he's just gunning. Like, literally, he has snaps off. It's not like he plays offense. It's not like he has other responsibilities. So I wouldn't be shocked. I would have seen a rule out of him. In my opinion, I would have seen him already ruled out, I think.
Now, Kyle brought up a good point, too, though, that, with the Gunners, even 99% might not be enough because you have to be flying there. You need to be 100%. So I get what you're saying with the limited, and I'd like to see him go. Don't get me wrong. Even, his instinct and his angles he takes there on the kick returns. If he's down a little bit of speed, he can make up for that other ways. But, man, I don't feel good about him going, and it scares me a little bit because, like I said, special teams could be the factor in this one. Very well could be.
Yeah, and our guy, congratulations video posts. Klein is great, but I think Milano brings some big synergies, helps Tremaine a lot. Yeah, 100%. I mean, to me, I think there's a lot to talk about there, and I'm of the camp of pushing it. I think this is a big regular season game. I think if you need to sit him next week, you do it. I think this could mean a lot to the team. The Titans probably have that division pretty much wrapped up. I don't know. I don't think they're playing their best ball. They took care of Jacksonville today, but that was kind of slippery at times for them. So I just don't think that's the magnitude of this game. I think you can get an extra day rest going into that game anyways. But I think you need to play him here. I think that communication's key. I'm all for playing him at 75% and getting him on a pitch count, a snap count. Maybe seeing Klein in certain situations or certain packages that you like. I think there's a good system that the Bills could have down, and also probably have a system. Let's say he comes out, he is active, and then he's just not looking like himself, or he's not playing good. Yeah, then you have the Klein game plan probably ready. I think he's worth it to being probably one of the best defensive players on the team. He's worth it to kind of take a chance on. Like, if this was a rotational defensive lineman, maybe you can have more avenues to sit him out. But I think Matt Milano needs to play today based on how his pregame warmup goes. I don't know. Kyle made good points about the weather. Like, I've always heard the rain helps with these injuries. Like, I've always heard, you don't plant and you don't get stuck in the turf. You don't get stuck in the grass. It's not super hot out. So, but then he made a good point with, well, that's true, but if you're already hurt, it can like compound there. So that's the interesting factor here is this weather situation. Mirka, let's talk about the weather now. We've talked about Matt Milano most of the show. Are you someone that thinks, I hate the freaking weather, like this sucks, like the weather's awful, we're so unlucky, back-to-back weeks with this weather? Or are you somebody that's like, I don't know, like it might bring down Pat Mahomes as much as anybody, or is he so good where he'll excel through the weather and other quarterbacks will be brought down a notch? Like, what's your opinion of the whole weather situation? Because it's kind of been a story really of the season, besides like Miami, the weather's kind of sucked.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Josh already struggle with some rainy conditions this season, and I think both quarterbacks are going to – I don't see either benefiting from the weather. Both throw very hard balls, both like deep balls. I mean, that's where, it hits the gloves a little too hard. You're going to see it slip and pop off, things like that, which we already saw with the Bills. So I don't really see it being an advantage for either quarterback. If anything, it's going to be a disadvantage, but – both these quarterbacks can use their legs too, and you might see that today. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I was a little surprised to see how well he's rushing so far this season. Nothing crazy, but 15 carries for 90 yards, 92 yards actually. He's carrying the ball well this year. I mean, he's got that huge contract, so they probably don't want him to, and they don't run as many designed runs as we do for Allen, but that's something to watch for today, where both the quarterbacks are going to be using their legs probably in situations where they might not want to force something because of the weather.
Good points, Mirka. Okay, got to get into it here. We're wrapping up the show. Getting close to 6 o'clock. Everyone's going to want to eat their dinner. Whatever you're doing tonight, enjoy your tailgate. But Mirka, it's time for predictions. We need to get into it. We kind of broke down the show here on our Wednesday edition. Go back and check that out. I had some thoughts on Kevin's cool takes. Check that out if you're looking for some quick content. We got to get into the score predictions, though, now. We said we were going to bring him today. We're going to bring him. We're going to start with you, Mirka. Kyle, 27-21 Chiefs. What does Mirka got and why, and what are the keys?
I am going – put a lot of thought and deliberation into this. I haven't said my score prediction anywhere else. I am confidently going Bills 27-21. I like the Bills, maybe not by a full touchdown. I like the Bills to cover in this game. I like them to win outright. I don't think we're going to see an insane score fest in this, especially because of the weather. And, the Bills defense, I hope doesn't get torn apart today, even though I'm not banking on a shutout like 2 of the past 3 weeks. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes for a reason. He's going to tear us up. But I like the Bills to get this monkey off their back. I want revenge to be fulfilled. Look for a big game from Stephon Diggs. I love the Bills tonight. I'm confident with the Bills tonight. As scared as that makes me, I'm confident in the win. I'm confident in the cover, too, for all our gambling folks out there.
Why? Tell us why, Mirka. Why are you feeling a game in the 20s? Like, tell us what you think the Bills do right tonight to get to that score.
So we talked about it earlier in the week. I think the biggest thing tonight is getting Singletary Moss going. I know Singletary might be out of favor a bit right now after the fumbling issues in a rainy game. That can scare you a bit, but I don't see fumbling as a huge problem for Singletary. He's had some unfortunate things, a few, miscues. It's not great. I'm not, saying it, but I think he can get going tonight, used in a limited role alongside Moss, Moss is going, abusing that Kansas City defense. That's going to be the key to this game because the Bills are going to want to drag this clock out. They're going to want to keep Kansas City's defense on the field, tiring them out for the full first half until the end of the game. This is their biggest time to take advantage of their, a weakness with Kansas City the past couple of years, and it's that defense right now. So if the Bills can dominate the time of possession and wear down that defense with the run game, Allen will do the rest for us. So that's why I don't love a high-scoring game, because I think we're going to see some longer drives, and the weather is going to play a big factor into us running it a lot. Not that we're going to be running it 50 times today, but you've seen an uptick in running this year from last year. I don't see that dropping out.
I feel good on the under. You feeling on the under too? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never take an under, but I think it's going to be a little bit, but just between the weather and how I see both teams trying to pace this out tonight, under makes sense.
Yeah, I'll go around the league real quickly here before I give my score prediction. Some interesting things going on. A really good game, 27-13 now. Cleveland over the Chargers. Could that Chargers run be coming to a vicious end of really putting some pressure on? I don't know, but the Chiefs are probably pretty happy about that one. We just saw to kind of round out the second quarter, you saw Kareem Hunt 3-yard rush, a Chase McLaughlin, ex-Bill, hitting a field goal at the end of the half, and then a Nick Chubb just recently 52-yard rush. So really some interesting scores. And then you go around the AFC still, Chicago with a bad Chicago team we saw in the preseason with Justin Fields up 14-3 on the Vegas Raiders. Damian Williams 4-yard rush, and a Jesper Horsted pass from Justin Fields for his touchdown. So going around the league, some good score results there for the Bills, possibly every other AFC team that's into this. So that's pretty interesting to see some of this stuff come to light. Also, Arizona 10-0 over San Francisco, and Dallas 17-10 aforementioned, as we saw. People like me lost Saquon Barkley for weeks here. Not great to see. So my Chubb-Barkley combo, Chubb's working out for me. Barkley's been good. It was a combo I thought could
nice
take
surprise.
me to the league title. He was playing well, but just more injuries, Meerkat, for him. At some point,
you hate
you're injury prone. You're some point. It's just the bug bites you. And just unfortunate to run a route. Daniel Jones missed him badly and to step on another guy's foot. You hate to see something like that, but some good finishes here. It's time for Kevin's score prediction. Kevin's prediction of the game. 31-30 Buffalo I have in this game. I have
exciting.
An exciting game. I don't think that weather will bring down the score too much. Right now, we already see an over-under of 56.5. I got the over in this one. I got the Bills covering and the money line for the Bills. So, there's a lot to like about it. I'm feeling 31-30. My prediction is a Josh Allen touchdown with under 30 seconds left to go. Kansas City had already burned their timeouts trying to stop the clock in case they got the ball back, and they're not going to get it done at the very end of the game. For some reason, the Bills D is going to hold, and the Bills are going to need to score in the 30s to win this game. It doesn't happen much where Mahomes loses, allowing points in the 20s. Now, obviously, weather could play a role in that. For instance, for reference, the Browns scored 29, took the L, very close game. The Ravens 36 in the win, the Chargers 30 in the win. It's got to happen. You got to get into the 30s to take the wins from the Chiefs, and you got to play at least a little bit of defense, which I think the Bills will succeed at that front, keeping them right there at the 31-30 mark. So our guy says he hopes it's not that exciting. I think the rest of the league does.
All eyes on us tonight, man. It's scary, but it's crazy too, seeing people like around the league and stuff taking the Bills against the Chiefs in a primetime game. It scares me, not gonna lie. Definitely scares me. I'm getting kind of like week 1 vibes where everyone was taking the Bills against Pittsburgh in a highly touted game, but this is different. The history with KC, I mean, we're talking history. We're talking just about last year when we're referring to history. I mean, those 2 matchups last year still haunt us, and what
turns this into a rivalry, Meerkat? Like, that's the one question I wanted to ask you before we take off. What makes this a rivalry? Like, what will turn this into a rivalry?
It's gotta be Allen versus like Mahomes, that kind of dynamic, I'd say, and just for supremacy of the AFC, because past few years, people have been like, all right, it's the Chiefs, top of the AFC. Last year, people started to question that with the Bills, but there was still a bit of a muddled mix there. And now this year, people are just saying it's the Bills, it's Kansas City, who is taking that 1 seed. I think you kind of built it up where these guys are both locked down to their teams for a long time. We're both AFC teams. I think we kind of built it up really fast, expecting this to be something that's drawn out for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Is the Allen Mahomes matchup in the playoffs every year, people that will be expecting. So I think it's a little more built up than it needs to be, but I'm all in on it. I love the revenge factor, how dirty they were playing last year in that game, the picture of Stephon Diggs with the Chiefs celebration going on. Yep. That's what we think about when we think about the Chiefs right now. So I just want to get it done. Business trip, baby.
Yeah, business trip. And I think we saw, a lot of people are saying the Bills need this more. I don't know that I'm in that camp of saying that, like, because the Bills division's worse. It's a regular season game. It's in Kansas City. I'm having a hard time buying the Bills need it more. In what way is tough for me to kind of imagine. However, I think that's an advantage, like not really needing it this early on. Their division sucks. The Bills have, technically a game and a half, a wiggle room. I mean, to be honest, it's going to be more than that as the weeks go on. Like, they have a lot of wiggle room to play loose, to make errors, and to succeed in football games rather than playing tight, knowing there's no margin for error. It's like a pitcher. If it's 0-0 and you're out there in the seventh inning, you got to be careful with your pitch selection, Meerkat. But in a game where you have a 4-run lead, a 5-run lead, you can pour strikes in. Knowing that a solo dinger is not going to get it done. It's kind of the same for the Bills. They can pull out their best game plan, knowing that, like, yeah, if we go down swinging and they beat us by 6, they beat us by 7, as long as it's not embarrassing, there's nothing really to lose here for the Bills because, like, yeah, that sucks. Like, one seed might be an uphill battle the rest of the season, and maybe that's what they're playing for. But the division's there, the home game's there in the playoffs. The 2 were the 3 seeds right there, without really too much competition outside of just an injury crazy bug. So are you in that camp, Meerkat, of this? Who's this game like really more tight for? Like the 2-2 team that has a harder division, or the 3-1 team that really, has margin for error?
I mean, obviously, I want to say the Chiefs. The Chiefs dropping below 500 with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid as their coach would be a travesty. I mean, minds are going to be exploding. People are going to be losing it. Chiefs kingdom is going to come crumbling down way prematurely. But I'm still going to say the Bills. The Bills losing this game, we are going to be haunted by that the rest of the season. I don't care if we win. I don't care if we lose today and then win out. All we're going to be thinking about is facing Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. And as much as we want to have confidence like I have right now, we're going to have that, monkey on our shoulder. We're going to have that little bit of like, we haven't done this yet. 0-3 the last 2 years. How are we going to get to the Super Bowl past them? I don't want that. That's going to ruin the season, in my opinion. And not ruin it, you know what I mean? It's going to hang over the season. It's going to be a dark cloud there. And I just don't want that. I want to prove we can beat them. Kyle, in a score prediction, said he wants to take the Bills, but until we beat them, he can't. And that makes sense. We need to win this game. We just need to win.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, Meerkat. I struggled with it. I really was leaning 31-27 the Chiefs. I just think that the Bills, I think that lose factor lets it get them done at the end of the game as compared to being so tight like they were in the AFC Championship game or last year with COVID problems from a team that wasn't even in the game and just so many other issues that they're not going to have to worry about tonight. And I think on the road, Josh Allen, isn't going to need to impress his fans. I still think he plays better on the road. I'm going to live just like the Cowboys game. I'm going to live by that. That's kind of his kind of awakening moment. I'm still thinking the way that he plays, I think he's going to be just a really good road quarterback in this NFL. So I think all those factors lead me to the win here tonight. We got to watch for inactives because it could skew. Like all of a sudden you see all these guys play. Okay, it's a wash. You see Milano out, but you see all their players in. Well, that starts to tip a little bit. Or vice versa, where you see all the Bills players active and you see Chris Jones out. You see Willie Gay not suit up. You see Frank Clark on a snap count or some variation of all this stuff. Those are primetime players. We're not talking about just Taiwan Jones here. We're talking about potentially primetime players. So there is some things to still be decided in the next hour when inactives come out and then starting lineups as we start to go later in the game. The weather doesn't look great, but it looks like it's going to be a fun one, Meerkat. Give us some final. We'll let you get your prediction in here. 67-yard win with the NFL record.
Break that 66-yarder.
If we're attempting that field goal at the end of the game, I think it's going to be hard for the Bills not to go for a Hail Mary there. But yeah, no, I mean, that would be, you talking about, you didn't want it that exciting. I thought that's pretty, that's pretty crazy there.
Well, he says it's for the win. What if we're up, or we're going into halftime? Do we throw a Hail Mary? We're tied at halftime. Do we throw the Hail Mary or we just kick it and say, fuck it? Do you want to get that interception going into half or just attempt the kick? Say you attempt the kick, we hit it. shutout second.
There's no
half.
other time you can attempt that
Boom.
either at the end, unless it's the end of the half or the end of the game, because you're giving them the ball, in plus territory.
Yeah.
So
it
would have to be
half, make it happen. 13-10 Bills, no points in the
I
second
could
half.
conceivably see it then, because I think you're at least thinking that he can get it through the end zone bounce somehow. Like, I don't know. If you're making that a kick, you're assuming that he's not going to put it in the end zone, like for, a returnable. So I don't know. There's bad kicking been awful today. It's been atrocious around the league. I'm not going to bank on our kicking. It's just, and then in these elements, it's just been a weird kicking day across the league. There were so many missed extra points. There was like overtime game with a bunch of missed field goals. I think we have an advantage with Bass going forward. I'd like to see it in other games. I'm not sure tonight's the game I want to see that in. You telling decent weather in Nashville next week? We can talk. I don't know that I'm feeling great about that in the rain in Kansas City and in a pretty huge game, Meerkat. But what an awesome addition. We started off with Kyle. We brought in our keys to the game. Lots of stuff going on here. This show's been brought to you by Picasso's Pizza and Outlet Liquor. What's your outlet? Get out there and get your favorite case before kickoff here, Meerkat.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I am. I really am. I thought it was going to just be all nerves and all of that, but talking through it all day, really just thinking about it, getting notes ready for my shows and stuff, and it's just, I feel good. I feel good. This is a game the Bills have to win. This is a game the Bills should win.
Yeah. Kyle just put up his inactive projections. He's going with Tommy Doyle, Matt Milano, Taiwan Jones, Harrison Phillips, and F.A. Obata are his projections here in the next 45 minutes for who he thinks will be scratched. And nothing really of note from the KC side.
I remember seeing something this week about Obata having like his best game with the Panthers against KC. So, it's one of those things where you want to see him starting, but it's also kind of where it doesn't even matter because KC's got a brand new offensive line and all of that. So you can't really use those stats into it. But I want to see F.A. Obata get after at some point this season. I'm fine with Harrison Phillips. That makes sense with how Oliver and Lutule are playing. But I just want to see F.A. get that shot.
Couldn't agree with you more. We'll see what happens here tonight. Meerkat, any plans?
Right now I'm just hanging out at home, but I should be making my way down to Rec Room where, Connect Sports is going to be hosting the big block party there. Giant screen for the game. Rec Room, tons of screens, obviously. Go get some drinks, have fun with Bills Mafia, and go hop on the train for a good time, folks.
Absolutely. Got a video coming at you, to end this, to cap this video off, but get out there, enjoy yourself. Show's been brought to you by Outlet Liquor. We'll see you on the other side, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
On the line to Stephon Diggs. Allen and Diggs. What a connection.
Hey, you big dumb idiot. Looks like you got yourself a saucy hand.
Yeah, I do.
Try yourself a Picasso boneless wing. Maybe next.
Well,
Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Yeah. Bills Mafia. Don Brown. Yeah. It's the Mafia, you know.